We are recording. All right. As soon as Moongod is back with us, we will go ahead and get it started because I think we've given everybody enough time.
Yep, I don't have a headset that I can grab really quick. We can just jump into it. I'll find one by the time next week rolls around.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right. Well, I think we've shared enough pleasantries. So, Moongod, how are you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Just, been busy as we're kind of getting a couple of things set up and getting things prepped and ready for this approval that's very likely going to go through within the next day or so. Uh, so yeah, we've just been basically just getting everything kind of prepped and ready to go for that.
Cool.
And we've been working on a couple of stuff or a couple of things for like the website and stuff like that. Testing out some different charts, different time frames and data associated with it. So yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff to kind of go over.
Cool. Right on. Oh, geez, I'm hearing crying
So
in
we
the other
haven't
room.
closed out any trades. I don't know if we kind of went over this last week, but I'll either bring it up for the first time or I'll reiterate kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
During the dip that happened last week, we were able to close out quite a few of the short positions. We are effectively in a long position at this point. So we kind of had that happen at the perfect time for us to be able to jump in and take advantage of the pending approval here.
Fantastic.
So we're pretty excited that this will very likely translate into a really good position for us going into the approval and everything like that, and then being able to kind of close that out and put us even better than what we originally thought we were kind of doing here. We did go through and work on the charts and the data associated to that I know people have been asking for. The one that we have right now that's set up, and we've got a couple of screenshots we're going to be able to share in the chat. I think Yanni has got them or something like that we can kind of just get posted there. But it's fairly basic, nothing too crazy over the top. We didn't want to really go like with 1,000 different details and like some kind of trading style view from you know uh, like a Binance look or anything like that. We want to just keep it simple where you can kind of see how things went, see how things are going. So yeah, we've got a couple of pretty awesome functions in it as well, where you can adjust things from like last year, this year, current ROI, cumulative ROI, daily, quite a few different options for you. Last 30 days, last week, last day, all of that across the board, including like year to date and stuff like that. We're working on adding a few more things and a few more options as well too. So these screenshots are actually from the charts associated to the Ray, and that basically, I believe, the reserves is at just about. I think it's 39% is what it was up to. Give me one second.
Yep. So yeah, the thing I like about these charts is they're simple, and I think simple is a beautiful thing. And we'll get some more clarity on what exactly has happened, because I think it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, sorry. So the ROI so far on Ray is 39%, just a little bit over. It's like 39, I believe, 0.2%.
Awesome.
And this was kind of like what I'm going to call just kind of like our test charts here to just kind of get everything prepped and ready, work out a couple of things, and just make sure we had some stuff set up the way that we kind of wanted to. prior to really, setting everything up associated to the NFT one. That one is going to come in just a little bit here as well too. The reason for that is, we're going to set it up so those that have the NFTs connect their wallet. They're able to see the chart. They're able to see the ROI. They're able to see the trade log with that one, see how it's doing, all of that across the board, and kind of have that one subsectioned out a little bit to allow them to kind of see specifically something that's tailored for them versus the Ray ROI, which is strictly just associated to the Prisma token itself. So yeah, these charts are going to look very similar in that aspect, and we just wanted to kind of show you the way that some of them look. We didn't want to go with anything crazy over the top, but again, like what we do with the the Prisma token and the designs that we have, is that we always start with a very, very flexible base to it, and then expand upon it from there. So all of these charts give us the capacity and the capability, and the data that we have associated to these give us the capacity and the capability to adjust and change these as we see fit, including being able to add and kind of remove things that people ask for. So as we get 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, we can add additional options and features and functionality in there as well. So it does provide a much more flexible take on what normally is, for lack of better terms, an inflexible system. So yeah, we're pretty happy with that, and again, we'll let you guys kind of take a look at it. Once we kind of have everything lined up and finalized here, and then once that's done, you guys can give us any kind of feedback you want. We'll make adjustments based on that, but we're looking to add 1 or 2 final things in here before we, totally make it public. So, yep, that's kind of where we're at on the chart side. I know people have asked for that. We are also working on getting the trade log added in there as well too. Both for the Ray as well as the NFT, so people can kind of track and see how it's doing. The trade log, more likely than anything else, will just be probably in a list format. So it'll have open long at 2,000 ETH, 2024, and then close long 2,500 ETH at I don't know 118 2024, something like that. So it'll just kind of have things like that in place to kind of allow people to see what's going on and the trades that the bots are doing, and just kind of break it down an easier way versus having everything that we do have to be kind of looked through. So yeah, that's kind of the direction we're heading with it, trying to keep it simple where we can, and again, at the same time, if some people do want additional data and information, we have the capacity to be able to adjust and provide that at a later time if we need to. So yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that is very cool. I know when you first showed those to me, I loved how simple they were, because you can just glance at them right away, and you see right away what you need to see, and then you just glance at them all the time, anytime you want.
Yeah, absolutely, and we have 2 sides to that as well. So we do have the percentage-based side, as well as just the cashless USDT value as well. So this, is tried to be made as easy as we possibly can. So if somebody just wants to know, hey, what's the dollar amount that it's done in returns, they can just pull it up and look at that really quick as well. Or if they want to see, hey, what's the percentage return? So that way you guys don't have to go through and try and math it all together. We're okay, where did we start? Where are we at? What's going on here? Do I have to add these certain percentages in weird ways to kind of figure out, what's the return so far? We kind of, have all of that, again, baseline built in.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions about these charts before we get back to talking about what the NFT did? Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't
So
look.
yeah.
Yeah. So that, just as a heads up, the website will probably be made public either by the end of this week or sometime beginning next week. We're just finalizing a couple of things and tweaking a few things. But yeah, that should be available for everybody to kind of see. Again, this first iteration that we have here is effectively the Ray side of things. So it's not the
Mhm.
NFT side. That'll come once we get the integration into the DApp to be able to recognize wallets that can.
Whoa! What happened? What the heck happened? I don't know what happened, guys. No, no, I'm here. I didn't lose anything. The recording continued too. I apologize for the technical difficulties, guys. I don't know what happened. I did not lose power. The internet is still on. So I don't know what happened. Can you guys hear me?
Obviously, it did. Yeah, we can hear you, or at least I
Okay.
can. Obviously, it just didn't want anything to do with what I was talking about, so
Yeah.
it just disconnected us.
um.
What
Yeah.
were
I
we
don't.
doing? Jumping into the NFT side of things. Yeah, so to just kind of finalize that, the charts that'll be visible right away here are going to be the ones associated to the Ray. The NFT ones will come shortly. We just have to make sure we've got the integration set up, um, to recognize like which wallets have the NFTs. So it's pretty much as simple as that. Nothing too crazy. So, yep. As
Cool.
for the NFT side, as I kind of brought up earlier, just very quickly, we were able to close out a lot of the short positions during the last major dip where it got down to like the 2050 range.
Fantastic.
And we're pretty much primed for any kind of longs that we'll be able to take some massive profits with the ETF approval. So we're kind of
Awesome.
prepped and ready for that on the other side. So, yep.
What?
This
So
was
with the short being practically closed, uh, when are the full funds going to be effectively in the NFT side?
Well, and as I've kind of brought up before, the bot in effect is trading with what it's got in there at this point in time.
Mm.
If we are manually opening positions, we could open up with the total amount of funds if we wanted to. That'd be a terrible idea. But effectively, we're trading with all the funds at this point.
I gotcha.
Um,
Because of the
yeah.
the leverage.
Well, it's not necessarily leverage. It's like people are misunderstanding the idea of like fully trading all the funds. So the full amount of funds is available to be used by the bot. It would be very, very bad if we were to use all of the funds in the
Right.
bot.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't ever want to be in a position where 100% of the funds available are actively being used in a trade. That would be
Right.
very, very bad.
Right.
So, even with us being in the position that we're in, we could use 1% of the funds, trade at 10x leverage or 100x leverage, whatever, we kind of want to do there. And it would be a case where effectively it would be like we're trading with either 10 or 100 times that amount. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean that's what we have to kind of take into account is that we're never going to be trading at, you know, $80,000. Like at least not right now. If we get to the point where we're trading, I don't know, 8 million or 80 million or something like that, we could trade 80,000. But it's still going to be a case where that's so far down the road, it's not going to happen. We're, trading at much smaller amounts, just using higher leverage. And as we start to accumulate more value, we're going to be pulling back on that leverage as well too. So it's a case where we won't be using nearly as much as time goes on. Or even if we do, we'll leverage down the amount that we're using. So instead of saying, every trade is going to start at like 1% of our funds, we could say every trade is going to start at 0.1% of our funds and still trade at like 100x leverage or something.
Right.
So it's just, there's a lot of flexibility in there where we can kind of make adjustments as time goes on.
And
That's really the best way to think of it.
When will the percentage of profit that we're talking about each month be associated with like all of the funds? Because up until now it's been associated with like, I don't know, like 17,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So the easiest way to kind of take that into account is just look at the 17,000, look at what we've returned so far, and then kind of just balance that out against the 80K. It'll be adjusted for when the NFT charts come out. So like if you guys just want to wait till then, I can probably just do some quick and dirty math on it. If memory serves, I think the last time we went over it, I think the bot has done like 24 or 2,500 or something like that. Maybe I'm missing some funds in there. I know that's about the base amount that it's done. I'll double check that and I can come back with some numbers for it. But yeah, if you wanted to account that towards the 80K, you can kind of do it at this point. But the entire system is kind of still based on that 17K. When we do get the full 80K, like quote unquote 80K in there, the charts and everything will be balanced based on that as well. Because again, as a reminder, this was a situation where we were supposed to have this kind of ramp up. So in effect, it's still going to have the same exact dollar amount return, but percentage is going to be different there. And then going forward, the dollar amount, the percentage will effectively change because we're trading at a higher value.
Okay, so does that mean we might be seeing like smaller percentages monthly if we're trading more?
Well, yeah, so you just have to think about it in terms of scaling. So like right now it's scaled at like 17K. When it's effectively trading, and again, this is the best example that I can give. So at 17K, let's say a trade is for $1,700, right? That is effectively 10%. 10% of 80K is $8,000. So it's a situation where, that's the way to kind of look at it there, is that right now, in this instance, we're trading at about a 10% value, so to speak. When we move up to the full 80K, if we get to 10% again for whatever reason, it'll be a situation where we're effectively trading at $8,000 worth. So it's just a scaling thing. I don't really have a better way to kind of word that. Nothing is effectively changing percentage-wise. The dollar amount is just going up.
I gotcha. So when there's more money that's being utilized by the bot, we can probably see the same like percentage gains that we've been seeing with like the amount you guys have been trading right now.
Correct. Yeah. So the percentage gains isn't necessarily going to return. The dollar amount or going to change. The dollar amount associated to them will.
Yeah.
So like if we do 3% on a trade, doing 3% on a trade on 17K is still 3% on a trade if you do the same amount on 80K. It's still 3%.
Right.
It's just the difference in dollar amount is there.
Right.
So that's where I was trying to say, where like if you do 10% on a trade at 17K, that's 1,700. But if we do 10% on 80,000, that's $8,000. So that's the best way to kind of think about it is, and I apologize if earlier I wasn't explaining that, in a very good way. Like,
no, you are. I'm just getting
trying to kind of find a better way to clarify and kind of make that a little more clear.
Yeah, I might only be clarifying for me. Maybe everyone understands all this stuff, so this is just for me. There's
I mean, you never know. Somebody may be curious and just doesn't ask the question. So
yeah,
it's always a plus. But Yeah, that's the best way to kind of think about it. Is most people, they look at it in terms of dollars, where it's like, oh, it's 17K, we made $1,700. You know, you know, what if we do the same and we're at the 80K? Well, that's a totally different percentage then. That's a drastically different percentage
Well, it's
from
the same
17K.
it's the same percentage, but a different amount of dollars. Like,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you do a 10% return on 17,000, going to be, the same percentage as doing a 10% return on 80,000. The
right,
dollar amount's going to be different though.
right, right.
Yep.
All right.
That's the best way to look.
Yep, yep. Well, appreciate that. Thanks for clarifying. So Mitch is saying, is the bot trading fully automatically now?
Not yet. No. Again, it's like a hybrid at this point in time. We're kind of adjusting things a little bit here and there, for the same reason that we talked about last week, which is the bot doesn't know if it's coming up on a support or resistance. So we're adjusting things in that aspect, to kind of be on the right side of those positions. But outside of that, the bot is effectively, kind of choosing the area that it wants to open up new positions in. But it's no longer opening shorts, if that's the question you're asking.
All right. Mystic Dragon says, in other words, the bot will never use all the funds at once. It's basically there as a backup for even further leverage, is how I'm interpreting what Moongod is saying.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason for that is just for safety and security purposes. If you were to think about it, this would be like, for lack of better terms, just throwing 80,000, down at like the roulette table and trying to pick like, you know, black 16 or something like that. I don't know, like, if that's the right color and number, but we would never want to do that in this situation here. Um, you know, we're always going to, be trading, smaller amounts. Like I said, normally we get into a situation where we're trading roughly in about that 1% to 10% range just for safety and security. And for the most part, it'll be a case where that won't change as we, continue to have funds come in terms of, like the returns that we see. As we get to higher amounts, like trading in the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, we definitely will end up pulling back the amount that we're probably trading with and just use slightly higher leverage there. But it really kind of just all depends, how it kind of plays out, how we want to make those adjustments within the market. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way that we've set up this bot to ensure that we can kind of make changes or adjustments as we see fit. So yeah, that's absolutely something where if we make a decision that, hey, we want to de-risk, um, and go from like 100x leverage to like 20x leverage or something like that, or if we want to, up our risk from, say, 10x leverage to 50x leverage or something like that. I don't know. It just kind of depends on what's out there and what's available and how risk versus risk averse we are feeling. But generally, we try to diminish and reduce the amount that we're using if we are using higher leverage. So, like, there's no point in us trading at, $10,000 a pop using 100x leverage. That would just be absolutely terrifying. Something would go very, very wrong very, very quickly with that. So,
Yeah.
like, if we were trading 10K, we might only use 10x or something like that. And again, I'm just throwing out the numbers there as an example. It kind of all is just determined by the way that we, look at the market, look at how much risk we're willing to accept, and kind of go from there.
I
So,
have I have a
yeah.
question that has nothing to do with anything, but why what is the increased risk with the increased leverage?
Yeah. So in effect, you can get to the point where you're trading with money you don't have. Um, and as you increase the amount of leverage, it increases how much um, effectively the price can move before you get in trouble, and before you're liquidated. So it becomes a situation where, like, if
I
you're trading
gotcha.
with no leverage, you
I
can
gotcha.
move, 100% not have an issue. You're trading with 100x leverage, you can move maybe, you know, 10% without being liquidated, something like that. So,
Right, right.
yeah,
I gotcha. All right.
right. And that's why within our system here, we have that dollar cost average system set up, and that's why we have that hedge system built in as well too. To allow us to ensure that we never get into a position where we, have to really worry about liquidation. So it's a case for us where, you know, really, as we kind of talked about, as our bot does exactly what we expect it to do, which is dollar cost average if it gets into a trade going the wrong direction, waiting for like a pullback or, it to pull up, however you want to kind of look at that. Um, if it continues in the same way that this one did, where we were in a short that started at 1600, that's why we started opening up the hedge position at about 2000, is that we didn't want to have any more unnecessary risk in there. We weren't sure if it hit, over the 2300 range, the 2250 range, where it would necessarily stop. So we made that decision earlier on, to just open up that hedge to allow us to, accumulate a position where we wanted to ensure the safety and security of funds, and then make sure we could slowly move our way out of it. So, yeah, that's definitely something that we kind of had in mind, and something that we, wanted to make sure we followed through.
Yeah. All right. So I'm seeing all the questions, so let's just go in order. Mitch is asking, will the app or the website have a payout calculator for the NFT holders?
I'm not sure. We can probably add one in. Pretty much it'll just be a situation where I think we can probably set up something fairly rudimentary, where it'll just take the cumulative profit and just in terms of like dollar,
Mm,
and then, account for the various percentages, and
yeah.
um like what it would distribute out based on per NFT.
Right. Right. Yeah. That would be. I mean, if you guys can figure that out, that might be a cool thing for the holders. And then
Yeah.
go ahead.
I don't think it'd be too overly difficult to do. Again, that would be a thing where what I would like to do in that instance is just kind of have that be relatively automated. So like when you connect um your wallet, and it looks in there and sees how many NFTs you have, it'll just automatically do the math based on the current returns so far.
That'd be fun.
Um
That'd be fun to look at.
yeah. I mean, I like the idea of calculators. The biggest issue I have with those is people will often enter like best case scenario, not
Yeah.
what's currently happening. So like we'll run into a situation where somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, um, what if we
If it
do?"
does 49% a month, this is how much
Yeah,
work.
what if exactly? What if it does 49% a month, and it's like that's just never gonna happen. Or if it does happen, that'll be just like just the amount of sheer dumb luck behind it would be insane. Um, and I don't like the idea of someone using that as a form to misinform somebody as to what we're doing here.
Well, maybe
I know a lot
maybe
of
in
calculators have been used in the past for that kind of stuff, and I'm not a fan.
right, and that's understandable. Like maybe instead of a calculator, if it could just be like a cumulative, per NFT payout so far, based on like what the bot has made in profit so
Yeah,
far, something
I
like that.
mean, like I said, I think we can definitely expand on that for sure. But what I would like to kind of do more so than anything else is just make sure that, um, more so than anything else, that it basically provides the data based on what we've actually done.
Right.
That one's the most important for me versus what it could do, because we can throw whatever numbers we want in there. But, that's the same thing as just saying, oh man, if I bought, um, 1,000 longs on Apple right now, and Apple goes up $5,000, I'm going to be, a quadrillionaire. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, sure, that can definitely happen, but the likelihood of that is astronomically low. And on top of that, who's really going to do that? And so that's kind of the mentality that I have, is I'd much more be inclined to just provide the numbers based on what we have versus what we could do. Because then we start
Yeah.
getting into like some hairy territory where,
Mm,
again, people take the best case scenario, and we've seen that 1,000 times over with these calculators where somebody is like, cool, especially when it came to like rebasing and stuff like that.
yeah.
All right, if I rebase your year and the price goes up 500%, I'm going to make $55 million or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that's just not going to happen, dude. And so that's kind of the mentality that I have behind it, is I'd much rather provide the numbers and have it update automatically, like when you connect, to one, what you've already been paid out, and then two, what we are doing so far throughout the year. So like the return so far for the year, be it like, if it's going to be like $1,000 per NFT or whatever it is, and then you can kind of just figure out the math behind it, so to speak.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, that would kind of be like my mentality there.
Yep. Sounds good. That's why we love having you guys in charge of the bot, because you guys are definitely not moon boys, and you're doing everything safely and securely, and just staying firmly set in reality. Um, Jamie is saying, is there an official start date so that investors have an ETA for year end, such as payouts for year one, year two, etc.? And Yanni was answering him saying January 1st or December 31st, based on whichever one of those dates, I guess, is better for tax purposes.
Yeah, that's something where we'll kind of like leave it open and allow NFT holders to probably vote on that as we get closer to the first payout. Because it doesn't really matter for us in terms of like, hey, we got to take funds and we got to, pay these out to people. Like 1 day difference isn't going to do anything to us. What it really comes down to more so than anything else is that if some people are going to have some crazy major tax implications, we're hoping that we can be on the side where it's as beneficial as possible for those kind of people. So we'll leave it up to the holders of the NFTs to kind of decide, but it'll either be like right at the end of the year or right at the beginning of the year. But we're considering day one was January 1st. So in effect, 2 years down the road would be January 1st, 2026. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Mystic Dragon was saying, I know it's early, but can we still expect NFT payouts to pay within 600 to 2,000 range in year two based on how things are going so far? And
Well,
Yanni gave him a little
just to
bit.
kind of give some numbers really quick, the Ray NFT, or the Ray bot itself, has already done 39% returns. And that's accounting for the full 6 months there. Um, and it's a situation where, if we're kind of looking at the total amount there, we did have quite a bit of downtime. I believe within the first 2 months we had about 3 weeks of downtime, and then we had a full month of downtime when we were updating from the version 1 to the version 2 bot. And it's a situation where it's already done 39%. So yeah, it's definitely a case where I would say we're happy with the returns so far. That's why we're confident with this V2 bot, is that it gives us a lot more flexibility. It has the ability to take a much better return and profit margin on things as well too. And it's very much so a case where, upon everything that we've done and everything that we've adjusted and the plans that we have for future adjustments, I could absolutely see us doing within that range without much of an issue. So yeah, if
Great.
we're looking at the amount of time that we spent in, you know, specific trades versus not trading, it's roughly about 2 months of not trading, 4 months of trading. We've done 40%, roughly. It's like 39%, and then we still have this trade that's open as well, which we're hoping within the next couple of days we can, you know, take profit there, close out everything, and just let the bot get, again, back to its own trading the way that it wants. But yeah, it'd be a situation where if that closes out within the range that we believe it will, it could do some pretty solid numbers behind that as well. But effectively, for the total amount of months trade that we've got, or months trading that we have here, it's roughly about 10% every single month so far. It's
Nice.
like 9.7% or something like that. You know, 39% divided by 4 months, like 4 months in a week.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
yeah. Yep.
All right. It seems that people are in favor of that calculator, so you can talk it over. We can talk it over and see
Well,
if.
like I said, I'm not against the calculator in terms of like, you know, it showing what it's done historically, and then it showing what it's going to do in terms of like, hey, so far this year, your payout is going to be $1,500, and we're 6 months in.
Right.
You know, what I don't like is the projection idea behind it, and that's just more of a, I'm not a fan of ungrounded or unfounded information where possible.
Right.
You know, I could come back and, you know, the team might be like, no, Matt, you're wrong. You know, we're gonna have that in there and let people kind of just dream. But I don't like, you know, I don't like having the ability to promise something to somebody that we can't necessarily fulfill. You know, it's one of the reasons why we, you know, give a range of information and a range of numbers over just saying like, this is exactly what it's going to be, you know, 100% guaranteed, no questions asked. And it's like, there's a lot that can happen in the market. Could be up, could be down, but yeah, I'm a little more closed off in that mentality when it comes to those types of calculators than most. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
You.
subject to change, not saying it won't 100% happen, but it's definitely a case where I'd like to err on the side of caution versus just being like, yeah, we're gonna YOLO this into like next week, where it's like we're taking the numbers from, you know, the most tippity top end bot returns, which I think again was something insane. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I talked about it in one of
In
our
the
earliest AMAs where I
quadrillions.
think it did like, yeah, it did like $8 quadrillion or something like
Each
that over
NFT was
3
gonna make
years.
like $100 million or something.
Yeah, each NFT, yeah, I think it was like $123 million per NFT or something.
Not a bad ROI.
If it hit every trade perfectly, everything happened to the like absolute perfect, you know, possibility. It was something like it was doing like 80,000% per year or something insane like that. It was crazy, and it just, you know, never going to happen, but it
Yeah.
still was just one of those things where, you know, I'd much rather, you know, be a little more grounded, I guess, is the best way
Well,
to word that.
yeah, and that's perfect. That's why you guys, you and Calais, and the rest of the team have the perfect mentality for what you guys are doing. So, but I think the calculator would just be fun for the holders, and I like it would be kind of like risk-free fun. You know, it's not going to harm the way that you guys are trading or the potential profits or anything. You know, it would just be something fun for
Well,
people to play with.
part of it as well though too, and this is kind of why we want to bring, you know, the capacity to be able to look that stuff up, is we would like, you know, since the NFTs effectively allow you to see what it is, I'd like to get at some point in time the DApp that we're going to have go along with this, where you can just plug in the contract address, and it'd be a case where it shows how much an NFT is made. And the reason why I'd like to have that in there is like, as people eventually, you know, may want to sell off some of their NFTs or whatever it may end up being in that, situation, they could literally plug in the contract address associated to the NFT and be like, cool, so this NFT has been here for X amount of time, and this has been its return year 1, year 2, year 3, blah blah blah, so on and so forth.
Right.
And that really gives that capacity, and that's part of the reason why I'm very particular about like wanting to have the possible calculator set up in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Is that I'd also like this to be to the point where, like, if somebody is saying, hey, cool, I've got 10 NFTs, I want to offload them because I really only need like 5 of them, to live my life the way that I want and be able to live off this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to offload 5 of these so I can cover, buying a house or buying a small island or whatever it is. Joking about the small island. I mean, I'd love to get that to that point, but I would like, the capacity for the DApp to have that information in there as well too.
Yeah.
So there would be that proof that we can provide when somebody, potentially wants to sell their NFT. If they do want to go that route, it would allow us to come through and say, hey, you can just do this all through the DApp. And the positive with that as well too is it's verified. This is how much its returns have been so far. You can see all this when somebody is trying to exchange or trade it, and that would be a case where we can add a lot of little extra benefits in there as well too. So yeah, it's just kind of, it's all tied together. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be like in the future kind of things. But these are some of the things that we've been kind of thinking about on our side as we've been going through the processes of starting to kind of develop the DApp on our side associated to the NFTs and some of the communication we've had. Doesn't mean it's all going to be in there, and I'm not promising 100% that's going to happen. We may go a different route with it, but those are some of the things that we think about whenever we're kind of designing and pulling this stuff through, is that, we want, holders to be able to fully make informed decisions about how much they've earned so far, what they're getting, and then, from there as well, be able to go through and make determinations for what they need to do, when this money is going to be paid out to them. So, yeah.
Right.
Part of the whole process.
Cool. Well, I think this has been good. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. So we're in perfect position for the coming ETF approval. Moongod, do you have any final words that you want to leave us with?
No. I mean, just, let's hope there's no kind of crazy issues with the ETF approval. I think it should go through without a hitch.
Yeah.
That's part of the reasons why we were kind of making some of the adjustments that we did. The chart website, like I said, will be available probably by the end of either this week or the beginning of next week. We are still working on the integration process for the DApp side of things, where you can connect, see the chart, associated strictly to the NFT, but the rate chart will be available. Like I said, probably at the end of this week, early next week. We're finishing a few little data points and a couple of adjustments with the way we kind of want to present some of that information in terms of like options provided. So we're looking at a few additional like time frame options and stuff like that in there as well. So yeah, it's pretty much everything. Just to recap it again in case anyone's joining us a little bit late. But yeah, that's the top to bottom, so to speak, of stuff that's happened since last week.
All right. Fantastic. All right, I'm just responding real quick to some. No, I didn't mean to respond to you. I meant to respond to that. I was responding to Crash. Prisma V2 token. Do you want to say something about that real quick to Butte?
Sure. Yeah, so part of our the charts that we did and everything that we have set up, turns out we were a little bit shorter on our number than we thought we were. We thought we were closer to like 33%. Turns out we're at 39%. We did some of our math wrong. So yeah, we were basically doing the math on 5K in returns. Turns out we actually did like $5,345,000 or something like that. So yeah, it's at 39%. We're figuring when this trade closes out, we'll be pretty close to having all of the funds recovered. So
Fantastic.
hopefully this goes pretty well for us within the next few days, and it'll be a situation where, we won't have, too much longer to wait here, and, we're still kind of, unless something really drastically changes, we're still shooting for the January, February relaunch of Prisma V2. So
Sounds
yeah,
great.
we'll go over some more details once we kind of finalize the recovery of the funds and everything. Nobody will be like uninformed. We are not going to just like drop the token with no information provided to the holders. So it'll be a case where, everybody will have plenty of time to know, like, hey, we are going to be starting on X date at X specific time UTC. So
Yeah.
yeah, nothing
Yep.
to worry about there.
Yep. So everything is on schedule and might even happen
Correct.
ahead of schedule, but no
Correct.
promises.
Yeah. What I will say though is, I know we've kind of talked about the vaults and stuff like that as well. Those will all be activated and ready to go prior to the first payout going through. So I
Awesome.
believe at
Awesome.
a minimum we're going to have a 1 token, 2 token, and 3 token vault. I know we have a
Fantastic.
couple of other partners that we've kind of looked into. I know we are also planning on having a Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a BNB vault, as well as a Prisma Reinvest vault. So those will probably be our starting ones, assuming we don't have any kind of like crazy issues with the setup of the smart contracts for those. We got to do a little bit of testing, but it'll be a case where those will probably be like our 6 to 7 starting vaults. Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB 1, 2, and 3 token, as well as a Prisma Reinvest.
Sounds
So
amazing. Sounds amazing.
yes,
And the way that the Ray bot is going to be allocating its funds is going to be the same as the NFTs, right? It's going to be like 50% will be reinvested and 50% to the holders or something like that.
we have a slightly different payout structure. That we have effectively 2 versions of our payout structure. Version 1 is a bit higher on the reinvestment side, and version 2 is a bit more on the payout side. If memory serves, and don't quote me on this, I haven't looked up the payout in a while because it's not something we've thought about. We've had other stuff that we have to do first, but I believe it's 30, 30, 20, 10, 10. And so the way that it breaks down is 30% is paid out, 30% reinvested, 20% goes to the LP. Yeah, 20% goes to the LP,
Hmm.
and then there's like 2 other 10% for something. I can't remember exactly what they are though.
I gotcha.
But yeah, it's in our white paper, and I believe the white paper should have both versions. Basically, version 1 is while we still have taxes in play. Version 2 is when we've removed our taxes and we've hit certain values within the Ray, and it allows us to be fully self-sufficient. So yes, that's pretty much where it's kind of differentiating. But it's very much
Awesome.
so a case where I believe that's the numbers there.
And if you're
I'm just blanking on
reinvesting,
exactly what.
I mean, that's going to get crazy. Like after a couple years, you guys are going to be, dealing with some serious money in that
Correct.
bot. I mean, just same
Yeah,
as with
and
the NFT side.
one of the positives with the reinvestment of the Prisma side, and this is one of the incentives that we added, and we can definitely talk about like incentives for for you guys as well too, if you guys want. But for any kind of Prisma reinvestment, there's no buy tax. So yeah,
Cool.
if you just throw your Prisma tokens in the Prisma vault, the reinvestment vault, you don't have to pay a buy tax. So
Very cool.
it's very beneficial if you want more Prisma to have them just sit in the vault and just get more every single month without you having to do anything. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Still, obviously, have to pay sell tax when you go to sell your Prisma. But it would be a case where you get to avoid the buy tax by being in the vault. And none of our vaults have any kind of fees associated with them or timers. So you don't have to worry about lockups. You don't have to worry about fees.
Awesome. And the tax isn't very much anyways. It's only like 4% on buys and sells usually.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it's not too bad.
Yeah, I
And
think when we were doing the math on it, it was like when people were doing some trading, I think worst case scenario that we saw was like with the fees charged by like Pancake Swap and stuff like that. I think like the worst fee we saw was like 5% or something, whereas like 4% to us, 1% to like Gas and Pancake Swap kind of thing. So
right.
yeah, with the slippage and everything. So yep.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Mystic Dragon was just asking how often will the payouts be for the vaults, and I told him monthly.
That is correct. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, very, very cool. Awesome. That's a lot of good news.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Well, I think we can call it there, Oliver. Unless any other questions pop up really quick here, we'll give it like 15 seconds or something, and then we just, thumbs up and call it for the day.
Yeah, man. This was awesome. This was a great update. Appreciate you as always, Moongod. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Crash. I was just thanking people at random times. Yeah, you got it, Mystic.
Definitely a pleasure as always. And Timber Sky did ask, do we have a price yet for Prisma V2? It will effectively be the same price that it was when the funds were exploited. So, yeah. Mike, to answer your question, those that purchased V1 are going to be airdropped V2 tokens. So you don't have to do anything on your side. That's why we're recouping. That's why we didn't go through and try and do like a Launchpad V2. We considered a couple of options in that vein. The trouble that we kind of faced with that is that some of the Launchpads weren't willing to work with what we wanted to do to ensure that V1 holders were given compensation. The starting price was roughly about half a penny, I believe it was. So it was like 0.005. Or it was like 0.0048, I think, is roughly what it was during the exploit. But yeah, all V1 holders are going to get the same dollar for dollar of V2. Nothing going to be differentiated there. So
awesome.
Yeah, whatever that'll end up being, it'll just translate over. We don't want any V2 holders, and that was one of the things that was brought up to us quite a bit, is that we didn't want V2 holders to feel like they're getting some kind of benefit over V1. Or sorry, the other way around. We didn't want V1 holders to feel like V2 holders were getting some kind of an extra benefit. So it was a case for us where we wanted to make sure that, those that have been with us from the beginning, those that invested in the beginning, weren't going to be in a position where, they got the short end of the stick or they got shafted. So, yeah, that was a very, very important thing for us. And it's why, the first thing that we decided to do was begin recouping the loss. Or recouping the loss. So, absolutely.
Awesome. But I don't think there'll be a pre-sale.
There will not be a pre-sale.
Yeah.
Yep, no pre-sale for V2. As soon as we recoup the the funds on our side, we're just going to effectively, I guess we'll call it a quote-unquote stealth launch. It won't be stealth. You guys will know when it's going to happen. But it'll be a case where, we'll launch, we'll get it out there. Those that want to buy can buy. Those that want to get out can get out. Because we know there's been a couple of people that are like, cool, I want out of my Prisma V1 tokens. So, I know there are people that want to buy those if somebody is trying to do that still, but for us on this side over here, it's very much so been a case where we're not going to do any kind of crazy pre-sale or anything like that. It'll be a situation where um, everything is going to be effectively like fair launch. We'll set up the LP, make sure everything's good to go, make sure everybody's got the right tokens airdrop to them, and then just let the market determine which direction it's going to go.
And part of the taxes, if not a significant portion of the taxes, will also be going into the bot, right?
Well, it'll be going into Ray. So
Ray bot. Yeah.
As for the Ray side of things, there's more than just the bot in there. So right now, I think we're talking about doing 4% on the buy, 4% on the sell, going all into the Ray. And effectively, the logic and the reasoning behind that, more so than anything else, is that the Ray side of things also is going to be going into different other reward-bearing strategies. So we're going to be looking at things like liquidity pools, liquid staking, position management, all kinds of stuff like that. We're even going into and investigating some options with having our own position management system set up. So there's a lot of stuff that we have kind of going on right now in preparation for that. So yeah, as for the Ray side of things, it's not just the bot. It will also include like a multitude of other strategies, so it's extremely diverse, and it can take hits on multiple fronts just in case something goes sideways.
Cool. All right.
Sorry, this turned into a Prisma V2 question.
It's quite all right. It is quite all right. It applies because we are big investors in the Prisma token as a project.
Absolutely.
So I wonder,
as far as I'm aware, V2 tokens, we are still sticking with the airdrop. So we're gonna send them out to you. I don't believe we have any thought behind like a claiming. I don't know. We might do that. As far as I'm aware, we're just gonna airdrop the V2 tokens. Unless for some reason there is an issue that we need to adjust some stuff. I doubt that'd be the case, but as far as I'm aware, the plan is still to airdrop it unless something has changed that I am not aware of. So I'll talk with the guys and I'll let people know, but yeah, we've got the ping sale list of everybody that purchased. We're gonna make sure to strike the wallet that did the exploit, so nothing happens with that one. And we're just gonna airdrop everybody their tokens. Again, unless something categorically wrong happens or we have to make an adjustment. But if we do, we'll let you guys know like ahead of time. So thumbs up, no need to worry.
Cool. And the price of the tokens could go up as like more people buy them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could also be a case as well too, where this is part of the hope for us getting this out the door. And recouping the funds as quickly as we can, as safely as we can, is that we'd like to get in before the Bitcoin halving. The market has kind of seen an uptrend as of recent. And one of the things that we'd like to do is we'd like to get into some of these staking systems and liquid staking and even some of these LPs while they're still dirt cheap. And that's one of the things that we're looking to kind of do on our side is get into these and then just kind of like ride them all the way up. So yeah, cool. We're very happy with how things have kind of turned out, all things considered. So yep.
Cool. Alrighty, guys. I think that's it. So appreciate y'all for being here and all the questions. And Moongod, as always, thank you for being here and answering all our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we don't have this go for like another hour or so. If anybody's got any extra questions, you can always just shoot me a message in the chat over on the Prisma Discord. I don't want to keep Oliver any longer, especially after he's just had a little one. So I'll field any other additional questions over there. So appreciate everybody who stopped by, and yeah, don't forget, what is it? 2 token needs to get to $10. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it
Or is it
wouldn't
3
take
token?
much. No, we're trying to get 3
Okay.
token to $10, but 2
3
token could
token,
get there a lot
$10. Let's
quicker.
do it, everybody.
Let's
Make it
do it.
happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Catch you later, guys.
All right. See ya. See you guys.